G'day. Time for another video blog to tell you some stuff about how brains work. And this comes from a couple of clients who have been looking for symptoms, really, and saying, what can I expect to see in my people? And they hear me going on about approach versus avoidance as a model or a mindset for doing stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We've got modern expression of ancient drives for safety. So most of our behaviours when we're stressed, you will see as being a version of a freeze, flight, fight kind of model. And they're not going to physically run away, although they might, but they might do that by changing jobs, for example, as a way of running away. They might do freezing, which is that static thing, by just not moving projects forward. So what are the kind of behaviours you can see in your stuff? If you look around your team and in the mirror as well, where do you see these sorts of behaviours? You're going to see people being relatively more closed-minded, narrow-minded, shut down, safety, lock it down. So they're going to be inflexible about things that would normally be quite easily done. No, we can't do that, we've never done that before. No, we can't do it that way, or it always has to be done this way. There'll be this absolutism about them. They're trying to get some control, so it'll be all or nothing. And the grey areas are just too hard. You're going to get some hypersensitivity to fairness. So you're going to see people saying, oh, you know, why do I have to do that when so-and-so over there doesn't need to do it quite as much or quite that way? Why do I have to do all this stuff? You'll see a lot of that when people are getting a bit stressed. They're trying to get some confidence and some security back. You'll see them change the subject, duck and dive. You'll see them procrastinate, which is really hard to do in the sense that they're not doing anything. But they won't move projects forward because they just don't know what to do. You're going to see some ad hominems, but some attacking of people. There's some in-group, out-group stuff going on. So people who would otherwise work together beautifully and have always worked together quite well, all of a sudden they're going to start saying, oh, they're not doing their job, or they don't understand, or there'll be a bit of siloing and patch protection going on. You're going to see people becoming increasingly cynical and sarcastic about things. Again, these are all just variations of freezing and fleeing and fighting. You're going to see some boastful behaviour, in fact. One of the things that people need is a sense of significance and a sense of value. If they don't feel like they're getting it from their own work performance naturally, they're going to try and grab it, and they grab it by showing you and telling you how good they are. You're going to see people diving into detail when they should be more strategic. It's one of the many known facts about what happens when people get stressed is they immediately become more detail oriented and very specific and nitpicky about stuff. So you're going to see this manifest in meetings. You're going to see meetings going along nicely, people thinking nice and strategically, and all of a sudden someone gets a bit pressured and not quite sure what's going on, and they'll dive into the one or two ancillary points that make little difference, but they'll be dwelling on that because that bit of detail is safe compared to the rest of the conversation over here, which is too risky. So they're the sorts of behaviours you're going to see. Now, these are all avoidance strategies to get a sense of safety. So by that I mean we can feel safe in our house if we never leave our house. That's an avoidance strategy. But we can feel safe if we go about the world in a way that is sensible and strategic. Your children will never fall off the swings if they never go and climb on the swings, right? So it's a way of getting safety, but it's not a very productive or growth-oriented way of getting safety. It's a motivational schema or schemata that organisms employ and engage when there is risk. Now, the risk ought to be, you ought to avoid stuff. If you've got a sprained ankle, then not using it for a few days or a week to help it heal makes some sense. So freezing and avoiding the use of an ankle makes some sense. But if it becomes pervasive, if it's to avoid doing something that's not that risky anyway, like a report or a piece of work at your site, it becomes a major problem. So we want to change the way we think and approach these issues rather than from an avoidance perspective, but from an approach perspective. So if you can teach people to approach things, be the lion and not the deer, to move towards what they want and not away from what they don't want, you'll find these symptoms dialing down and dialing down, and you get a bunch of people who are more open, more relaxed, more flexible, more authentic, more of the tongue. And that just makes everything around them and around the organisation that much easier. Cheers.